Hello everyone, my name is Kenny Cormandy from the Airgun channel, My Airgun Reviews. As everybody knows, Google has pretty much castrated gun and airgun video revenues over the past year, and they no longer cover the cost of making these videos. I have set up a website with a description of how you can help, and I've also activated a PayPal account where people can make donations to help keep these reviews coming. I was funding them out of my own pocket, but over a year ago I was diagnosed with cancer. That has become very costly, and I can no longer afford to fund these videos out of my pocket. So if you want to make a one-time contribution or a monthly contribution, whatever you like, you just go to the description below this video, and there are links to both the website and the PayPal account. And this next review that you were going to see has been funded as much by donations as the ad revenues. My name is Kenny Cormandy, and now let's get to the next video. Welcome back everybody. Today we're reviewing another Benjamin NP2 series rifle. This one is the SBD Benjamin Mayhem 22 caliber with the NP2 piston. This gun is 46.5 inches long. It has a 15-inch barrel with a silencing chamber on the end. It weighs 7.4 pounds without the scope. It's closer to 9 pounds with the scope. It is a fairly quiet rifle. The lowest average decibel reading with the quietest pellet was 85.7 decibels, and the highest it got with any of the 16 grain or heavier pellets was 88.8 decibels. This gun, I measured the cocking effort 3-4 times at 29.5 pounds cocking effort. It's got their clean brake trigger, which is adjustable. If you turn the adjusting screw outward, you will lengthen the first stage pull and shorten the second stage. And after screwing that screw out about 3/4 of a turn, I've got a fairly short second stage, and it's still a little bit stiff. I measured it 4 times, and the average for 4 pulls was 4 pounds 7.5 ounces, which is not terrible. It could stand to be a little bit lighter. As I was learning to use this new trigger pull gauge, I actually got a couple of pulls that were down in the 3 pound area. I think one was as light as 3.1 or 3 pounds 1.7 ounces, which was, you know, that if they were all like that, it would be very nice. But when I figured out how to work it out with the average, the 4 pulls were all in the 4 pound area, 4 pounds 7.5 ounces. This gun sells for an average of $29.99, and up until February 18th you also get a $30 mail-in rebate. The lowest price I found on this airgun was $221.48 on Amazon, as high as $289.95. I think that was probably Midway USA or something like that, but most retailers have it for $229.99. It's a attractive gun. The stock is very similar to the Steel Eagle, and basically the big difference is the silencing chamber. It is a huge piece, but it actually makes it very comfortable to cock. And this one also comes with open sights. It's just a blade on the front, and just a notch sight on the rear, and no fiber optics. and that's actually easier for me to use than the fiber optic sights, unless you're shooting against a black surface. But why don't we take a close-up of this gun and then we'll go from there. And remember, this is 22 caliber. You can see how massive in diameter and height that this barrel silencing device is. And there you can see with my hand on it, that's pretty massive. And you know, it's all polymer jacketed. And there is your front blade. And also, oh, I should also mention that this barrel silencing device is removable. I don't know why, but there's like 2 screws that hold it. And then it's just got a regular notched blade for the rear sight, which is adjustable for elevation and windage. I did have an issue with this back sight. We'll go into that in a bit. Here you can see the soft rubber inlays on the forearm, and the trigger is still pretty much like the Steel Eagle. The rubber inlays in here, fairly well shaped stock. Could use a little more elevation on the cheek rest. Hard rubber butt pad. And one of the problems with this gun is it comes with low profile scope rings, and that's what they use with the 32 millimeter scopes, and this is a 40 millimeter. So as you can see, you cannot get your dust cover over the lens. And then this scope also had another issue. The eye relief piece would not stay put, and the reticle kept going fuzzy, so I just wrapped a rubber band around it to hold it in place once I got in the right spot. But that's a pretty good look at the Mayhem here. Okay, this gun's rated at 1100 feet per second shooting alloy pellets, and this one came the closest of all of them I've tested so far with the NP2 series. Shooting the Crosman SSP alloy 9.5 grain pellets, we actually got a high of 1030 feet per second. So this is the first of the NP2s to break that 1000 foot per second barrier. Extreme spread was 10.86, standard deviation 5, giving us 22.17 foot-pounds muzzle energy. Shooting the standard RWS Hobby 11.9 grain lead pellets, we had a high of 899.6, so it almost hit 900. Average was 894.9, extreme spread 13.44, standard deviation 5, 21.17 foot-pounds muzzle energy. The gun did very well shooting the 16 grain and heavier pellets. H&N Hornets had a high of 786.1 with an extreme spread of only 4.11 and 21.79 foot-pounds muzzle energy. The Predator Polymag 16 grains, 786.2 feet per second. We had a high extreme spread because there was one pellet that was really slow. Everything was 782 to 786 in that range, except one shot, apparently a bent skirt, 767.2. But even still, with that one bringing it down, still at a 21.68 foot-pounds muzzle energy. Shooting the H&N Terminator 16.36, we had a high of 780.4, very good. 7.28 foot per second extreme spread, 21.9 foot-pounds muzzle energy. Shooting a new pellet, the Crosman Premier Gold Tip, 17.4 grain. We had a high of 761.5, average 756.2, extreme spread 9.51, 22.1 foot-pounds muzzle energy. And shooting the H&N Barracuda Hunter Extreme 19.09 grain pellet, that was our second most consistent pellet and most powerful. We had a high of 730.3, average 727.6, extreme spread 5.03, and generating 22.45 foot-pounds of muzzle energy on average. Now, I had an issue with the H&N Barracuda 21.14 grain pellets. I did chronograph them. They didn't do as good at 21.03 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, as far as issues with the gun, I had the first of all, the front sight. It was falling off when I got the gun. I had to take this screw out, flip this forward, and then take the Allen wrench and tighten down the two screws in here, crank them tight, and then reinsert this adjusting screw. The next issue is these scope rings. I showed you you cannot get the lens cover over the front lens, and the second issue was you know, this loose eye relief piece. As soon as I'm done shooting this, this scope and the replacement scope I got for the Benjamin Trail NPXL 1100, they're both going back to Crossman. They're going to ship me 2 new ones. Hopefully the eye relief piece will be a little more snug on those two, and like I said, they're going to send me a pair of medium height rings that have already been ordered, and they will be sent. Let me put up the power numbers and dimensions and everything. You can look at that real quick, and then we'll look at the accuracy tests. Okay, doing the indoor accuracy test at 12 yards. The shot several pellets well, and the one pellet that I had problems with was the H&N Barracuda 21.14 at 12 yards using a 12-inch target. You got 6 inches in either directions. At 12 yards, did not hit the target once. It hit as far as 8 inches or 9 inches to the left. You know, one pellet actually caught the door jamb, and several were shot way high up in here, you know, a foot off. And I don't know what the issue is with that pellet, but if you get this gun and you have the H&M Barracuda 21.14 grain pellets, use a lot of caution, because those pellets were so far off just at 12 yards. I can imagine how far they were off at 20 yards. But let's quickly take a look at that 12-yard indoor accuracy test using 5 different pellets. Okay, I did shoot one more, the JSB Jumbo exact jumbo monsters, the 25.39s. I got a few pellets, you know, right in by the bullseye, and some flyers a couple inches away. So I did not use them in the outdoor accuracy test. It could have been that my scope got loose, because after I finished with the indoor accuracy test, I did the Crony test using those 5 pellets, and the scope probably worked loose even more when I was doing the Crony test. So when I went to do the outdoor accuracy test, I had a hard exam first part of the day, and so I didn't have a lot of daylight left. I had one good weather day that day, and the next was really going to fall apart. So I set up real quick. I did 4 shots with 2 different pellets on the lower targets just to get the scope dialed in a bit. First shot with a JSB Predator Polymag. First shot could not have been more perfectly dead center. And then the second shot was 2 inches low, and I figured this is not good. So I went to the H&M Barracuda Hunter Extreme, the 19.09 grain pellet. First 2 shots, dead center. Shots 3 and 4, 2 inches high. I said, we got a problem here, and I found the scope was very loose. These mounting bolts were still felt tight, but the scope was loose, and so I had to run up and grab a Allen wrench and really crank these puppies down hard to get it tightened up. And then I went back to the shooting, and I really didn't get any practice time. I mean, 4 shots was all I had for practice, shooting this thing at 20 yards. And I kind of learned along the way that this gun likes to be held using the artillery hold, so the forearm is just resting on the bag, not really gripping it. And with a light hold, everything was in by the bullseye. If I held it really firmly and tight to my arm, the gripping the gun firmly with my trigger hand and, you know, really pulling back to my shoulder. With the H&M Barracuda Hunter Extremes, they were shooting off to the right. When I was just holding it moderately or lightly, just not real hard up against my shoulder, they were right in the bullseye. And with the Predator Polymags, when I just held it, you know, with moderate grip, I was right in by the bullseye, and if I held it tighter and pulled it harder in my shoulder, it was shooting left. So I was learning the gun at 20 yards as I did this, so there's a total of 12 shots on each pellet, and it was after about after 6 shots I knew I had a problem with the scope. So we'll take a look at that, and then we'll wrap this up. Okay, the part of the video that you just saw was recorded a couple of months ago, and then shortly after that I was sent 2 new replacement scopes, one for the Benjamin Trail NPXL up there, which is right here, and the one for this one. This scope works so much better. It is unbelievable. It's just night and day. It doesn't work as good as a 3 to 9 by 40 AO scope, you know, like at 12 yards, which is what I do my indoor shooting tests and trials at. You're limited to about 5 power, but it works good at 5 power. And I just did a new accuracy test. I was going to do it with the Diana NTEC 350, testing out 4 pellets, and I just had nothing but grief with the NTEC. The Diana, I couldn't keep the stock mounting bolts tight just to do one shooting test. You know, I just had to take it apart last night and really douse it with the blue thread locker. And so I took out the Mayhem to do that 4-pellet test. At first I thought, you know, so-so, but I got to the 4th pellet and wow. Now at 20 yards, I was still only able to use 8 power on this scope, but at 8 power it worked very well. And at 25 yards, 9 power, crystal clear. And sighting in, I put up a black shoot and see with a red dot. Couldn't see hardly anything with black reticle. Turned on the illuminated reticle and pow. That was fun. So even in broad daylight you can use that illuminated reticle. Instead of showing you the ridiculous accuracy test using the original 3 to 9x40 AO scope that came with this thing, which it was just a disaster. I couldn't get that one tightened enough where it would stay. I did finally get it to stay, but I still don't think it was staying steady. And as a matter of fact, I had the bolt so tight that when I went to took it off, one of the bolts snapped. So I'm using the 3 to 9x40 non-adjustable objective illuminated tag reticle scope that is going to stay with this gun. It's the replacement that Crossman sent me for the 3 to 9x40 AO scope, and I really enjoyed it. So now here is a 20-yard accuracy test with a good scope. Okay, I really wasn't impressed at first, but after doing the entire 4-pellet test, accuracy test, when I got to the H&N Terminator, I was just totally blown away that how well this gun liked that pellet. It didn't seem like it was that good before, but you know, with a really good scope that's locked down really good. You know, 0.38 inches. As a matter of fact, one shot was shooter error. If it hadn't been for that, that would have almost been a 1/4 inch shot pattern. So this gun with the right pellet is a tack driver. I mean a tack driver. And I went back and 2 of those pellets I shot with the Benjamin Prowler 22 caliber, and I checked the H&N Hornet versus the H&N Terminator, and the patterns were quite similar actually. So this gun does shoot those 2 pellets about the same as the Prowler did. So the Terminator pellet is more accurate than the Hornet, at least on these 2 guns. And You know, my view of this gun has just completely changed just by having a good scope on it. And so if you get this gun, the Benjamin Mayhem, with the 3 to 9x40 AO scope, if you have a problem with the eye relief piece not staying put, or if it comes with the wrong scope mounts, get a hold of Crossman. They will take care of it. If the reticle won't stay put, you know, just send it in, and they'll either send you a new one of them, or they'll send you one of these, which the scope actually sells for more than the 3 to 9x40 AO scope. It's a little bit more expensive. You got the tag reticle and the illuminated reticle. So with the right scope, this gun is good. And the reason I went to this one over the Diana for that 4 pellet test was because my arm was just wore out with the cocking that Diana, and I'd shot that one 75 times the previous day, and then a good 40-50 times out there. And so doing that 4 pellet test with that Diana, not knowing if the stock was going to stay tight or not, I just went in and grabbed this one because it cocks so much easier. It was just a breeze. You know, shooting this gun is a pleasure if you're going to be firing a lot of shots, because it cocks so easy, and it does have really good power. So I'm going to use this pellet gun testing 4 different pellets, hunting pellets with a hard metal tip. And so kind of stay tuned for that video. So anyway, with a good scope on it, this gun's a winner. It puts out more muzzle energy than any of the other NP2s I've reviewed, and with the right pellet and a good scope on it, yeah, it's just a tack driver, and it's a total winner. It's quiet, easy to cock, accurate with the right pellet, and just, you know, great gun. Anyway, that's my review of the Benjamin Mayhem SBD NP2 .22 caliber pellet rifle. My name is Kenny Cormandy, and thank you for watching.